name is Kaitlin Helberg, and I am an art teacher at the high school. So I have always felt a pull to create ever since I was little. I was always drawing, painting, doing artistic things, creating things. And I also grew up in the church, so helping people in need was definitely an idea that was familiar to me. So I went through school, definitely always artistic, one of the more artistic students in my class. And when I decided what I was going into for college, I never thought of art. Like, it just didn't seem like an actual career path for me. It seemed like it was going to be more of a hobby. So I initially went into something else and then got brought back to art in college. And so once I got into the art program, in college art, you start dealing with a lot of philosophical ideas. And so I was thinking through some things, and I always felt a tension between creating art, spending money. You spend tons and tons of money on art supplies. I always felt a pull or a tension between spending money on those art supplies and not spending money initially. You know, it's hard for me to say, like, okay, I'm going to spend $100 in paint. Would this $100 better be used towards something else? Like, would it be more responsible to donate this or whatever? And so that kind of tension came to a head, I would say probably my junior year in college, where I kind of broke down and I was like, why am I doing this? You know, what is the point of art? And I kind of had a, questioning myself moment. And so from that point on, my art really took a 180-degree turn, and I started creating artwork. First of all, I did a series called my Sponsored Series that was highlighting children who were sponsored and just trying to bring to light, like, the need for the need that other people have. The importance of supporting other people and giving to other people. And so it started with the Sponsored Series, and that was really just like a final project in one of my classes. And then my last year and a half to 2 years in art, I spent creating a body of work called the Adopted Series, or that I called the Adopted Series, which was 16 pieces that all dealt with adopted children. And again, it was just, the idea was bringing children to light who have been adopted, and the way that their lives and the lives of everyone around them have been enhanced by that act. During college, I would say that I was probably stagnant and distracted spiritually, but I kind of thought I had come to terms with kind of solving that tension between creating art and the call to do something in God's kingdom. So I went into art education and I started teaching, and kind of was looking for, ways that I could emulate God's character, I guess, in my works, kind of the same way that I did with the Adopted Series and the Sponsored Series. And I was kind of coming up short. Just could never find anything that I thought was a good concept. And kind of at that same time, I started growing a little bit more spiritually. I got involved with a small group here, started doing group studies, my own personal studies, and I was getting into the idea of just our identity in Christ and our identity in God, being made in His image. With that, as you grow spiritually, God starts to point out things in your life that you need to hand over to Him, and He kind of started pointing out some of my materialistic tendencies. Like one of my kind of thorns in my flesh is materialism, and I attributed that to being an artist, just liking pretty things and being drawn to pretty things. And so I kind of started questioning myself again, like having another moment of, what is the point of art? Like, why are you doing this? Is this a bad thing? And so I considered getting out of art education, and I'm like, why my sister and I kind of have a joke about third world, first world things. And I'm like, art education is such a first world job. Like, what is the point of art education? You don't see mission trips that need art educators coming over. So I kind of started questioning that. I'm just looking at, like, how is this really serving God, and how is this really serving His kingdom? And then I thought about, I'm like, why would God give me this pull? Like, this isn't something that I made up. This isn't something that I have just recently discovered. This is something that I've had my whole life. Like, I am good at art, and I've been drawn to art my whole life. Why would He give me this desire if it wasn't something that was good? I finally said, or it came to me, and it seems so obvious now. I'm like, duh, what were you thinking? But we're made in His image. I was made as a creator. Well, duh, God's the ultimate creator. Like, He's the ultimate artist, the ultimate creator, the ultimate engineer. I mean, He's a better artist than anyone will ever be and could ever imagine. Like, that's why you're an artist, is because God's an artist, and this is a shadow of who He is. So that completely changed my perspective on why I create and what I create for. From then on, I just started thinking about, like, this really is a calling in my life, and it's not just something I do, it's not just something I like. Like, it's definitely something that God a gift that God has given me to not only serve His kingdom, because I think before I had that idea of Like, I want to do something to further his kingdom. And I always had that idea, but I didn't have the idea that not only am I serving his kingdom, but I'm glorifying him by emulating his character. I was stuck in the thought of it has to be a very direct, tangible relationship between your artwork and the service that it's doing. And since then, I feel like it's just so much more of a freeing idea of, even by creating something that seems menial and silly, like you're emulating his character as a creator. I read a book recently, and this was kind of after this all self-discovery, but they said a calling can't be a calling unless you are called to do something by someone else and you work for their sake and not your own. And that is really how I feel about my artwork right now, is that like I am called to create by God, and that sounds really strong, but I mean, I work for him, I don't work for me. And if I'm working for myself, I don't finish projects. I mean, that's just the way I am, because I'm like, this is boring. I don't really care about it. You know, it's the stuff that I'm doing for a purpose. Like, we do an empty bowls project at school, and like those things, like I love glazing bowls. I spend hours glazing bowls, and I sell them all, and I don't keep a single one. But I'm working for, you know, a purpose of, we donate all of that money. So I'm working for the purpose of helping people in need, or, you know, like Symphony of Trees this past year. I loved doing that, spent tons of time, tons of energy, but that was serving the purpose of a need in our community. And so that's definitely where I'm headed. And I don't feel like I have a really strong idea of exactly how this will kind of shape out my whole life, but I'm pretty confident that it's definitely something that will have a role throughout the rest of my life.